Pick It and Flick It podcast, Halloween extravaganza number 3. My name is Vox. That's Luke. And that's Natasha. And I'm sick of this shit. We're almost done. We've been watching movies and recording a fucking episode for every single day in October. We have like 2 days left after this. I'm just ready to be over with it. Today we watched 1998's just masterpiece of alien invasion, The Faculty. I loved it.
I had never heard of this movie until you put it on the list.
I didn't put it on the list. You did.
I put it on the list?
Yeah. The only reason I'm leading is because you can't do an intro to save your life.
Luke, did you talk about this movie before?
I mean, I probably have brought it up a few times. I really enjoyed this movie.
This movie...
Then that's probably when I added it on my list.
It could have been, yeah.
Because Luke will talk, and I'm like, ooh, and I'll put it on my list.
Luke mentions like 5 movies every conversation we have, and you add all of them to your watch list.
I try.
This movie has a fucking star-studded cast.
Oh my god, it's wild.
Not only does it start with The Offspring, you could tell it's a 90s movie, but like just all of these little babies in here, I just couldn't believe it. And Robert Patrick, the fucking liquid Terminator from Judgment Day, is
and it took you still a really long time to mention that Salma Hayek's in it.
No,
a really long time.
No. What did I say?
He said, "No wonder Luke likes this movie. Salma Hayek's in it."
And that's a man who knows me inside and out, because that is the love of my life, I'm pretty sure.
The second I heard her voice, I was like, oh shit, Salma Hayek's in this movie. It was like...
And there's another girl in here from Fast and the Furious, and Luke really
Michelle
likes those
Rodriguez
movies too.
Or maybe it's Jordana Brewster. It's one of them.
It's Jordana Brewster.
Jordana Brewster,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
Right.
But talking about just this cast, it was like every single scene there was someone popping up or coming in where I was like, oh my god, like these people are just, it's like how many 90s trope actors can we just pump into this movie and just go for it? Because just to name a few others, we have Elijah Wood, we have Usher, for crying out loud.
Usher, baby.
Usher.
That's right.
Is it Famke Janssen? I feel like I'm mispronouncing her name, but she plays Jean Grey in the X-Men series, the original. There's your Marvel trope.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yep. Christopher McDonald. He's great. Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart's in this. Like, what in the hell?
Did you say Elijah Wood already?
Yes, that was the first one.
John Abrams from Scary Movie.
Even Josh Hartnett.
He is Fuck You Boy.
Oh, good.
The one that I was like, he looks familiar, and he's like the main guy in Scary Movie, the killer.
Interesting. The thing that I really just couldn't get over the fact that this movie has 30 fucks within the first 5 minutes of it. Like, people are just throwing that word around like it's nobody's business. A total coincidence that we have this on the list when we just watched Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which was referenced like 4 times in this movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of interesting.
It's got a lot. It's a nice amalgamation of things like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, of course, The Thing.
Oh yeah.
But wrapping it around in like a nice like Breakfast Clubby kind of setup and character.
I was just gonna say
set.
that. The Breakfast Club. That's the perfect way to like push everyone into a group. Let's just pick all of these random people for no reason from different like cliques and push them in there, and it always works.
Yeah, the emo chick, the football player, the cheerleader, the nerd,
the journalist.
The high school should-be dropout.
Yeah, it really worked. I didn't know what to expect going into this movie. 90s movies are always hit and miss, but like Idle Hands, we had that earlier this month too, and that was a fun watch. So like the 90s super like static shots and weird CGI.
And the music. The music is very prevalent in these 90s movies.
Absolutely.
There's a big emphasis on music that's happening now, and
it's just always like, you want to have a punk character, he drives a fast car, he deals drugs and listens to loud music.
Well, it's interesting you brought up Idle Hands, because that's such like they both seem like they're from the 90s, but that one seems like way more 90s, where like that was what was interesting about a 90s horror specifically, was it could be something so weird and bizarre as Idle Hands, and then something that's actually kind of like really pushing the boundaries with like the Faculty.
Yeah,
because it was a very weird time for like slashers, especially were kind of on the way out, but they kind of saw a little more life into them because this is like a sci-fi slasher more than your like Screams or Urban Legends or I Know What You Did Last Summer and shit like that.
Yeah, and we talked about this before, and I can't even pinpoint the episode that it was on, but we've had this conversation multiple times where in the 80s, in the beginning, it was a lot of slasher stuff. Near the end of the 80s, they were trying to figure out new ways to get horror into the mainstream still. So we got Alien, we got Predator with the sci-fi and the action horror. And then pushing it over into 90s, I feel like if you name like a bunch of one-off 90 horror films, they're all like this. They're all like Idle Hands. They're all like The Faculty. They're all like Scream. You know, they just have the same exact tropes throughout the entire movie where you're just like, well, this is a 90s film.
I like that though, because and I like that it's one and done. You know, there's not any like, oh, there might be a sequel, because I'm just over the like.
Yeah.
We just need one. That's all I need.
Yeah, just to tell the story and get out. And this story is interesting. I mean, it's about, for those who don't know, this is where we start the spoilers. It's about an alien race that starts to take over humans, and they start with the Faculty. I said the thing.
That's the name of the movie.
Yeah. They start with the Faculty of a high school, and I think that it was done better than Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like, if we're going to compare apples to oranges, right? Like, it had, like, a better flow in the story. Because, Jesus, this was a 100-minute film, 90-minute film, something like that? Invasion of the Body Snatchers were, like, 2 hours long. It was just 2 hours.
Yeah,
too long.
It felt forced, whereas this one was just natural.
Yep, just go. It was funny. It had some funny points in it. And then, like, the uncovering of the characters and how to defeat the parasitic aliens that were taking over everyone's mind it made sense. It wasn't something that was, like, totally out, in just the total unknown reaches of a story.
I like that it didn't waste any time. Like, it just, like, right off the bat was already starting. Like, the movie started within, like, 5 minutes, where usually I feel like there's, like, it takes a while for something to happen, and then you're just like, all right, and it drags out. That's
a big thing.
Yeah.
Well, this was an interesting case because this movie was released on Christmas.
Oh.
I'm not. I don't know what. See, this movie didn't do very well. It wasn't like a huge smash hit. It kind of developed a following over time. But yeah, this movie's directed by Robert Rodriguez, which you can tell his style is present, but it's not like Shark Boy and Lava Girl level yet. Like, he was still really trying. This was hot off the heels of From Dusk Till Dawn.
Okay.
Where he was heavily involved, but I think those two are both really interesting examples of taking like one genre and like melding it with like the polar opposite almost. And I don't know. I think this movie was just mishandled in how it was made and presented, because I think the script for this movie was like floating around for like close to 10 years before they were like, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll make that.
Wow. And now that you said that Robert Rodriguez, and I didn't know this, directed the movie, I can kind of see his style kind of put into
his flavor.
Yeah. A little bit of the Machete, snaps, and I like Sin City too. Just kind of come. And I know those movies were released after this one, but I can definitely see that his style is very prevalent in the way that this was shot. Plot twists in this movie were one after another, and I didn't get bored with it, which is good, because I feel like if that in the story, in the context of the story, I feel like sometimes that can be overdone, and because there was two, there was two plot twists where you're like, oh, no way. The big thing that they find out is that you have to kill the queen, because it's a hive mind, to defeat all of the parasitic.
They're like bees.
You got to kill the queen, and we guessed for probably 5 whole minutes on like who the queen would be while they were trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's still we thought it was one person and it wasn't, and then we thought it was another person, and then they died or didn't die, and we were like, oh wow. Luke, I know it's been probably a hot minute since you've really delved into this movie, but do you remember any of the like production stuff on this? Because I have
it was shot in like Texas.
Okay, well, just like post-production for me, everyone's footsteps were so fucking loud in this movie. It was almost irritating. And you could tell that they were done like in post, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was just like they just cranked the fucking footstep microphone all the way up while someone was tapping on a fucking chalkboard with 2 needles, and that was the footsteps.
The lav mic was on his shoelaces.
Oh my god, dude, it was terrible. Like I pointed it out almost instantly when they're walking through like the halls. It's just like tick 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 tick, really loud footsteps. Worst part of the movie.
You can't hear my footsteps because I'm under the school's basement right now. That's why I sound weird.
That's right. You're in the school's boiler room.
Yeah.
That's right, where Freddy hangs out.
The grand scheme of it, this is a watch that you can throw on and have a couple of beers with your buddies, and that's like the extent of it. There's not a whole lot of scares. It's more of as Luke mentioned, like the sci-fi kind of slasher than anything else, because people die. I mean, the opening scene was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
When there's an attack, the pencil through the hand was a really good effect. Jon Stewart's character gets killed later on in the movie with a pen to the eye that's loaded with drugs.
Yeah, that was cool. Well, one thing that you mentioned is it was just like a part of the movie was when they were talking about budget for the school.
Oh, yeah.
And how it all had to go to the football team because they were a good team. And then we're watching the game and there's fireworks going off. And Vox was like, the reason that the school has no budget is because they have fireworks at their football games.
Well, I think the set, like we don't really talk about sets too much in movies, but the set itself, just you pointed it out, it looked like a rundown school.
Yeah, it looked abandoned.
It looked abandoned, and I was like, that's because they have no money. They're too busy launching fireworks off at the football game.
They're a Southern public school. Football is the only thing they care about.
They're not even Southern,
It's
dude.
Ohio.
They're in Ohio.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because
Southern from
I was
us,
thinking
but-
I must be getting this confused with Varsity Blues then.
regardless of the fact, the only reason I know it was in Ohio is because there's a line in the movie when they're trying to figure out why aliens are attacking, and the one character goes, "Why did they pick Ohio?" And I was like, because they know it's boring and no one gives a shit about
No one would
Ohio.
notice.
Yeah, no one would notice at all about Ohio. So that's pretty funny. I mean, it's a 90s horror movie. How much more do you want us to talk about it, So one of you two can give us a little rundown on how we rate movies, and I don't give a shit which one it was because
1 to 10, thumbs up or down. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you. It's a pick from me, honestly. Like I said, it was worth watching. You could sit down and have a couple of beers and laugh at a 90s flick.
Yeah, pick for me as well.
Luke,
I love it.
please flick it. Be different.
No, I like this movie.
Okay, so do I. 1 out of 10. Tasha, ladies first.
I gave it a 6.5.
There's
I
no
know I can't
halves
give
here.
halves.
We don't do halves.
We can't. You
I'll,
don't do halves
I'll round
here.
up and I'll give it a 7.
Jeez, Luke,
That's right where I'm at.
a 7?
Whoa, that's a 7. That's a 7 by 7 by 7. That's a fucking 21.
I gave it a 7 as well. The triple sevens hit the jackpot on this one.
Ding, ding, ding.
I wish we could do that. If you can't tell, we're getting a little burned out on watching movies and recording.
We're done with this shit.
every single day, releasing them every single day at least. We have 2 left. In 2 days, it'll be Halloween, and then we will not post another review for a couple of months. That's pretty much where we're going to be at. And don't tell me I'm wrong, because all 3 of us know that that's the way it's going to go.
Aw.
Evil dies tonight.
Thank you so much for listening or following along. If you want to hear what we have to say about other movies that we have more energy about, there's fucking 28 of them before this one. So, there you go.
Who are you?
Thanks. Who am I? Or are you just throwing lines out?
What is this?
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Thanks so much for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.
You sounded so concerned.